Life is full of work and stress. Parenting can be a mess. Being a woman is hard enough without adding on that extra stuff. We'll cover topics of every kind. Helpful resources we will find. We'll even drink a bottle of wine. Join us. It will be a real good time.
Hi, I'm Amanda,
And I'm Nikki,
and welcome to Working Mom's Wine, where we drink a bottle of wine.
and whine about our crazy, busy, stressful working mom lives while trying to come up with some resources that might help you and us along the way.
That's right. What fun elf on the shelf thing did you do?
Okay, so our listening ears away. Make sure listening ears are away, little ears. My daughter knows that Elf on the Shelf is not real and discovered this year that it is, in fact, mom moving the elf every night. And she decided, in order to continue having holiday fun, but knowing that the elf isn't real, we were now going to take turns setting the elf up in fun adventures at night to surprise each other in the morning, which has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So last night she got this elf accessory at Target the last time we were there. That's a little portal door, and the door opens and you see a little like frozen scene through the doorway. So she set up a bunch of characters like they had just come out of the portal, and she cut out little construction paper shields and swords and taped it to them like they were having a big battle. So that was
Oh
really
my
cute.
gosh.
And then tonight I took her butterfly net and I trapped a squishmallow of Mickey Mouse, and I put the elves at the end holding the handle of the net, and I said, "Look, we caught a mouse."
That's so good.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought it was cute.
yeah, I love it. Our special friend is still with us. We're doing a couple recordings in a row because the holidays are busy and you do things when you can.
That's right.
But this time I went down to the fridge and got the wine I'm drinking. It is a
Dark
Sauvignon Blanc.
horse. Yep.
I second guessed myself for a little bit. I was like, did I get a Pinot? But yeah, it's 2023, and it says it uses New Zealand inspired winemaking techniques to deliver lively notes of passion fruit, grapefruit, and lime. Okay. So I was like, I do like it, but there was a little aftertaste to it. Grapefruit explains it. It does
Mm,
have that little like bitterness to it, I guess, that a grapefruit has.
yeah,
And Nikki still has her bottle box.
that's right. It's a classic.
But hopefully next time we will be in person again because I do have a special wine to
Yes.
try. Although,
And the next one is our 50th episode,
I
so
know, I
get
wonder if
ready
we
to
should
join
get
us for that.
an extra special wine and I can still save the other one. But
We
yeah,
could, yeah.
it's going to be our 50th. Yay! Pew, 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 fireworks! But today we are whining about trying to go out to a restaurant when you have children
Hmm.
because it can be a lot for you and for the people around you, but you still want to be able to go out and eat in a restaurant even if you do have kids.
Hmm.
So, we're going to whine a little bit about it and then give some tips that will hopefully help. But it
Yeah.
is a big problem because, especially in this internet age, like I'll get online in a community post like, we love this city, we love that city, whatever city's 411. And people are whining about the kids that were in the restaurant and the parents and what they were or were not doing to control their children. So you know that like other people are judging you. But even if you didn't know that, you still feel that pressure of, I need to make my kid behave in public.
Especially when you come up in a generation where we weren't as accepting or knowledgeable of
True.
neurodivergency and the need to wiggle and move, and the fact that not every child needs to or can sit stock still in a chair for hours
Yeah.
on end.
Yeah.
Like, things are different, and it is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
people got to get over it.
Right.
But because we were raised in that, and held to that, or watched other kids get held to that standard,
Yeah.
it's hard to not try to turn around and also do that to your child.
Yeah.
Like, you need to sit
Yep.
still, you need to behave.
There are some, I
It's
don't
hard.
know if restaurants do this, But I know of some businesses that do this. They'll be like, here are the kid friendly hours. Bring your kids. People who come here, you know to expect kids. But here are the hours where it's like adult swim. Kids are not
Yeah.
allowed. Maybe it would be a good idea for more businesses to adopt that. Or I think there's also like an understanding of there's certain restaurants that you take your kids to and others that are like, really nice and you don't.
Right.
Unless they're older and more well behaved, but they
Yeah.
can be
There's
hard
family
to,
friendly restaurants and
yeah,
date night restaurants.
exactly. Yeah, like family friendly versus date night for sure. I would never take my kids to some of the nicer steakhouses, like the one that like we went
Hmm.
on a double date to. I would never take a child there.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to take them to Outback, you know, or
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of another non-regional
That's what I
chain.
like about places like Texas Roadhouse and
Yeah,
Longhorn. Like, they're loud and crowded and there's
yeah,
kids and nobody cares, but you still get
right,
really good steak.
exactly. And it's, beyond controlling the behavior, you also want to make sure that they're actually eating their food. Because
Hmm.
if they get too out of control and too distracted, they're not going to eat their food. They're just going to try and play with everything around them or you don't want them to experience sensory overload and not focus on their food. So it's a fine balance of making sure they're behaving to a point, but that you're also not ruining the experience by being too disciplinarian, but also,
Hmm.
are they eating?
And then you get into this rut like I did where we just order delivery food all the time because it's
Mm,
more comfortable to eat in your home with your TV and your kid being able to sprawl out wherever they want. Then you realize that when you do take them to a restaurant, they don't know how to behave because they
yeah,
have not been in them very often.
yeah,
And that's a problem I had with Ari for a little while with the pandemic and the age she was.
yeah,
She really, as she got to kindergarten and really had not been in a restaurant many times.
yeah.
So it's a learning curve for sure.
I don't know if this actually helped at all or not, but there was that time, of course, where you didn't go, and then things started opening back up, and the kids would be like, "We want to go inside," and a lot of times it literally was, "I'm getting food on the way home because we do not have time to go inside." But there were times where it was like we could have, but I just kept thinking about my four young children and how I didn't want to put up with all of that, and I would say to them, you guys have to make sure you're behaving if we do it. And so when we finally did go sit inside of a restaurant, that was a nice bargaining chip to be able to look at them and say, hey, you're getting a little out of hand right now. You told me you want to be able to do this. You have to show me that you can do this, or we're not doing this again, at least for a
Hmm.
while.
Yeah.
But that's a nice segue into our advice for this one. So, one of
Tips.
my favorite things to do, I have never actually asked this, but I do really appreciate it when we go into a restaurant and they look at our table of six and they stick us in a back corner, or like sometimes there's like a little half wall where they've got other tables. So I really like it when they stick us in a place where I feel like we are out of the way, where they can be a little more raucous without interrupting the rest of the restaurant. That happened, like there was a Mexican place we went to recently that did that. Um, but like even when we went to Red Robin right after church a few Sundays ago, they put us all the way to the back of the restaurant,
Hmm.
farther from the bar, and like there was plenty of places where like us and other families could sit back there, and then there was like a glass wall from the rest of the restaurant. So that always makes me feel better, and I feel like it's not outrageous if you walk into a restaurant to say, "Hey, do you have a spot? Like, I've got young kids, they're going to be loud. Is there a table we could sit at where we might not disturb the rest of the restaurant as much?"
Hmm.
I've never bothered asking that before, but I thought, you know what? Why not? Why not ask?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I think another good tip is like prepping your kid ahead of time and having
Mm,
like an expectation setting conversation. Like, okay, remember when we go into the restaurant, we're going to sit in a chair in the booth and we have
yeah,
to stay on our bottoms and like you can't be running around or crawling under the table and like remind them, what's appropriate and what's not.
Yeah.
But
I think that's
also,
very key in any situation is setting those expectations.
yes,
And
yeah,
eventually they'll get to a point too when they're older where you can look at them and say, what are the expectations we always talk about? And you can have them say them back to you.
right, exactly. I'm a proponent, and some people are going to fight me on this. I'm a proponent for tablet time in the restaurant.
There's a
I
time
think
and a
it's a
place for
fine line to
tablets.
walk. Yeah, it's a fine line to walk, and maybe setting boundaries on, you could play with the tablet while we wait.
Yeah.
You could play with the tablet after you're done eating, and I've said okay, but
Yeah.
um,
Which could motivate them to eat more of their meal.
true. As a single mom who has trouble making time to go out with friends, there have been times where the only time I could go out was if I brought Ari with me.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't want to sit there for over an hour while I talk and hang out with my friends.
She doesn't want a
So,
mimosa?
no. So I bring her and her tablet and her headphones. And I think you need to be respectful of the people around you.
Yes.
Excuse me. You don't want to be watching some loud video without headphones and making a lot of really loud shrieking noises to the video or whatever. But
Yeah.
doesn't mean they can't bring it and utilize it and give you some me time that way
Yeah.
as well. So
Exactly.
take it with a grain of salt, use it as
Right.
appropriate, set boundaries around it, but don't be afraid to use it because some Karen is going to glare at you when they pull out
Yeah.
the tablet. Like,
Let them do
get
it.
over it,
It's not
ma'am.
their family. You won't see that Karen again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe sometimes, but
They
not
can
usually.
suck it.
I would say too, and I'm going to give this advice to anyone who eats out anywhere ever anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
tip well, especially if you get a server that really engages your kids, is very forgiving when, a drink goes
Spills
flying.
happen.
Yeah. We've had some very good servers, but even the ones that don't know how to interact with kids, but they still like are doing their job, like tip them well because you're a lot. You've probably left them a messy table. I used to be a server and I will still out of habit stack the plates and then put the silverware on top of it. And when I had really really young kids, there were times where I would even pull out the baby wipes and wipe a little bit of the table so it wasn't so bad. But just,
I've never gotten that far, but I
I
do
know
pick up and like
I
try to
can be
put
a
everything
little,
on each plate.
yeah. I just feel like if they made a
Or if
real
she
big mess
like,
of the table, I feel bad. But it's like
I've always like if we drop napkins and crayons on the floor, like pick
yeah,
those up, that kind of
yeah.
stuff. But
And 20 should be a minimum no matter what anyway. But if you're gonna
yeah,
go
20%
out,
tip.
yeah. If you're gonna go out,
Mm-hmm.
I suggest 25 if you bring your kids with you. Just like a little extra, I'm sorry, you're a saint, thank you.
Especially if it's a positive experience, and it
Exactly.
made you not cringe the entire time you were out with your
Right,
family. Like,
right.
that's worth it.
Yeah, 100%. 100, 105%. I had to think about that for a minute. But yeah, they'll appreciate it. Um, I have rarely met a server that didn't deserve to be tipped. So, just in general, tip your servers, guys.
Yeah.
But that could be a whole other whine on our system versus systems overseas where like it's built in and you don't have to tip them because they actually pay their people fairly.
Make a living
But
wage. Yeah.
mhm. But we'll save that one. It can be difficult to take young kids out, but definitely don't be afraid to. A lot of restaurants will not only have high chairs, but they'll have special things you can put a car seat on if you have a really little kid. Um, it can be very tempting to give into the pressure of social media Karens, but for the most part, when you go out and enjoy yourself at a restaurant, people are going to talk about how cute your kids are. Or I've actually gotten compliments about my parenting from people. So there are people that recognize that parenting is hard and they'll go out of their way to make you feel like you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
So go out, have fun, make the memories, and
Do the
just try
dang
to
thing.
just try to make the best of it. Don't worry about what other people are going to think. You only get one trip around this earth. you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, do you want to tell the funny story today?
Okay. So we're trying to think of like a restaurant or food related funny
Yeah. Don't
story.
watch this, Dad.
And this one cropped up in my head. We were going through a drive through as a family, and we were at a Hardee's, and our father saw on the menu something, I think it was called a low carb burger or
Yeah.
something like
And this
that.
was back when Atkins was new.
Yeah,
And this particular strategy of offering a low or no carb solution was new.
rare. It
Yeah. No
was
one had
yeah.
really seen it before.
So he saw that on the menu and was like, "What is this? I wonder what that is." Like we had no clue what that meant. So he
I knew.
ordered one for himself. I did not know.
I did. I had seen maybe Jimmy John's doing it.
Yeah.
I had seen some article or something on it, so I knew what was about to happen, and I just assumed he also knew, but he did not.
Well, he did not. Yeah, we went through the drive-through, we got our food, we pulled over in the parking lot to disperse the food as you do. And he pulled out his burger and realized the bun was lettuce. There was no bun.
Yeah. He's like, "Where's the
And he was
bun?"
like, "What the heck is this?
Yeah.
Where's my bun?" And then it slowly dawned, oh, this is what they mean by low carb.
Uh-huh. Oh, they wrap it in lettuce instead of bread. It was really funny, like just being in that drive-through and him just having that moment of, "Oh, I
Oh.
don't get a bun."
I
Oh,
just did the
that's where
wrong
the
thing.
carbs are. Oh, okay. I've been doing my no carb diet wrong. What I think is a brilliant idea though is when they make the ones where it's you have pickles instead of bread, like the thick pickles. I think we need to see
Mm-hmm.
more of that. Some pickle sandwiches. But I will say to Hardy's credit, and you don't always expect this out of a fast food place, it was a nice thick piece of lettuce. It wasn't all wilted or anything. It was very green. It was almost like they used cabbage, but
Very
it wasn't.
crisp.
Yeah, it was the iceberg
Mm-hmm.
lettuce was so fresh that you were like, this could actually hold my toppings while I'm eating.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but that was so funny. He was just like, where's my, they didn't give me my bun. He said that. He's like, they didn't give me my bun with my
Yeah. It's
burger.
like, where's the bun? They didn't give me a bun.
Yeah. And I was like, Dad, that's what that is. Oh, all the stories from the pulpit, we're getting our revenge. Now we're going to
It's our
tell the
turn now.
internet. That's right. So our dad he used to be like a full-time pastor and now he helps out at a church and does other things also. And my pastor was gifted a shirt that said it's a warning sign. It says warning, your story will be used from the pulpit or something like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a version of that for our dad because, when we were growing up, he would use like anything that happened, he would tell that story from the pulpit. Well, when he did that, he only got to say it to a church full of, 100 or so people. And we have the entire internet before us. So all of the stories will come out. Not that I have too many, honestly. Most of them are stories of him being ornery to us. So there's that. But but yeah, thanks once again for joining us. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok while it exists. I am gonna do the cross every time I say that. RIP. Patreon.com/workingmomswine, workingmomswine.com. I've never thought about this before, but like if there's a social media that you guys use a lot that we haven't mentioned before, let us know. We could definitely check out getting on that social media. But thanks for joining us again. Bye.
Bye.